This thing here is the world's first zoom shift lens. The very first lens where you can zoom but also shift at the same time. Ideal for architecture or real estate photographers. Let's dive in. A good thing about this lens is that it only costs $649 US, and that's way below any other shift lens offerings. There's a special referral link in the description. I didn't get paid or anything to do this video. I just borrowed the lens from them and I'm gonna have to send it soon. If you guys want to support what we do, please, I would encourage you to, if you're gonna buy the lens, use the link that we put on the description, and that would help us. It would give us a small commission on every sale. Talking about the specs, this is a lens for APS-C cameras, crop cameras. This is not a lens for full frame. This lens can be used on full frame, but it's not going to offer any shift capabilities. The magic of this lens is where you mount it on a crop camera, an APS-C camera, and you're going to have plenty of shift range on any direction. It operates like any other shift lens on the market. You just rotate it, shift it to different directions, and the thing about this lens is that it has too many rings because each of the rings does a different thing. The first one is going to be for, as I said, for shifting. The second one is for the iris, the aperture control. This one is for the zoom in. I like it because the lens doesn't extend when zooming. It's perfect for gimbals, for example. And this one is the focus ring. Everything is manual. I love the build quality, the finish. Everything is so well done, well finished, and it's so robust, and it's not heavy. It's a lightweight lens, but it's very well built. That's what I like about this lens. We're gonna mount it again here. Laowa already has other shift lenses in their portfolio. They have the 15 and the 20mm shift lenses. I have the 15 myself and it performs really well, and some of my friends have the 20 and they always talk wonders about it. It's a really good lens, especially for the money. This is a 12 to 24, that would be equivalent to 18 to 35, so I think that's super ideal. One thing that I want to emphasize is that, especially when shooting the type of photography that we do, real estate, architecture, interiors, the main goal when shooting hero shots, the room, in general shots of rooms or exteriors, the main goal is to have everything in focus, right? So I think that's why I think this lens is very appealing, because the smaller the sensor, the more control of the depth of field you're gonna have. So I think APS-C is a sweet spot to have the flexibility to be able to have everything in focus so easily. So I wouldn't be scared to shoot all my projects in APS-C. In fact, in the past, since 2018 until recently, I was using APS-C cameras on my workflow as a main photo and video cameras. I was using different system. I was using a view camera, Fuji XT series cameras. I was using the XT3, XT4, XT5, and so on. And I was using a view camera, Cambo Actus G for photography, but I was also using regular shift adapters with prime or zoom lenses for video. And that was my go-to for many years. And that's why I think this is so special, because when using view cameras or when using adapter lenses with a shift adapter, they're cool, but they're bigger, they're bulkier, heavier, and it's not the same as a native lens. So this lens is cool because it's like a regular lens, but it's a shift lens. They managed to integrate the shift mechanism here. I think that's the beauty of this lens. It's compact, small, but also capable to shifting and doing all the maneuvers that you need for architectural photography or videography. They managed to keep it that small, I think, for two reasons. One is that it's a 5.6 aperture, which I think is fine for shooting spaces. You don't need to shoot faster than that. But also it's a mirrorless design lens. That's why it's that small. If this would be a full frame lens or DSLR lens, it would be way bigger. So of course I would like to see a full frame version of this, a 17 to 35 or something like this. But yeah, Laowa, if you're listening, many people have asked for it during these years in the shifter community. But This is a great proposition. It ticks many boxes. It's a small lens. It's an affordable lens, well built, native lens. We're gonna test about the image quality today. This lens has 7 millimeters of shifting range, which some of you are gonna say, wait, 7 is not enough. Yeah, it is enough because 7 by 1.5 is 10.5. Because this lens is designed for APS-C cameras, the shifting range equivalent in full frame terms, it would be 10.5. So it's pretty much on par with the rest of tilt shift lenses on the market. It also has a 77 millimeter front ring that allows to use filters. And I think that's a very unique feature because some ultra wide tilt shift lenses on the market, like the Canon 70 millimeter or the Nikon 90 millimeter tilt shift lens, or even the Laowa 15 millimeter shift lens, they don't have a filter thread to attach a filter, so that's a big plus. So for the shot, I'm gonna be putting the camera in vertical mode, and I want to capture the side of the facade, the arches here on the corner with the balconies and the white color. I think it's a really nice shot. I'm gonna put it in vertical. All right. So I'm at 14 now. I'm gonna shift up more. I think I'm good here. I'm gonna zoom out a bit. I think, yeah, I just want to capture this side. And then let's see, yeah, just a detail. Okay, it's not the best shot in the world, but I think it's fine for this test. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Like this. Okay, so now we are at 24, and we're halfway up. I'm gonna do it like this. Again, it's not the best shot in the world, but I think it's. So I'm trying to find an angle here where I can, when I see a bit of the tree and the building and the mountains and on the background. I like how the light hits now. As you guys know, in architecture photography, it's very important to nail the best lighting conditions on each space, and the light is perfect now. We are at 17, f11. I think I'm gonna put it at f8. So we are at 17, f8, and then just slightly shift up. I don't need to shift much in this image because this building is not that high. So I'm gonna level out the camera, and this facade is a bit it's so bright, so I'm gonna be shooting different brackets, different exposures. Shooting the fireplace now at 24 millimeters f8. I like how the light hits here inside. It's well balanced between inside and outside, and that's the perfect scenario. And we're not shifting much. I just shift slightly down, but that's all. I think we're gonna be good. We don't need massive shift on this frame. So now I switch to landscape, and I'm trying to find a hero shot of the restaurant. I think I'm gonna be rotating the lens and shifting to the side because I want to see the right side of the roll. I'll cover the 16, but I'm gonna go a bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go lower. When shooting interior spaces, we don't always want the light to hit so hard. Sometimes it's nice, but I think in this case here, I like how it's soft, even, clean. I'm shifting to the right side because I don't want to see that cabinet over there, but I would like to see a bit of the window on the right side. At least the beginning of the window, I think is gonna explain the space well. And I think we're good to go. I don't want to crop this beautiful fireplace because I think it adds a very interesting design element to this room, and it balances out the third frame of the image. So yeah, I think this is gonna be the frame. I'm around 5-ish millimeters shift to the right side. One thing that we need to be conscious about is that when shooting with wide-angle lenses, we're usually gonna add a hood to the lens because sometimes the lens flares. I realized when shifting up that the rest of the image was a bit bloomy, and it's because this lens doesn't have any lens hood. So I'm gonna add it externally, but I always use this flag instead of lens hood on my lenses because I prefer it having here, and when I swap lenses I don't have to be constantly swapping the lenses or anything, so that's not a problem for me. But take into consideration that you're gonna have to be flagging with your hand or with a flag like this or something. I don't see it as a big issue here, just regular blooming from regular backlit situation. So I'm gonna place it like this on the side, at the top where the sky is, and the trick is just to put it in a way that you don't see in the shot. So who is this Laowa 12 to 24 millimeter shift zoom lens for? I think for photographers that look for maximum speed and efficiency on set, I can see it as a perfect fit for real estate photographers. Usually real estate photographers don't shoot with cheap lenses because they rather shoot with wide-angle zoom lenses. Speed is so important in real estate photography. They usually shoot 2 or 3 listings per day, or they shoot multiple homes in a week. I think APS-C it's enough, as we said before, but especially for real estate, that I don't think clients are gonna be as picky. They're not gonna zoom in the images as much. Realtors, what they want is just to publish their listings as soon as they can. So I think I can even see it for real estate photographers that have full frame cameras and they just want to use it on the crop mode, on the APS-C mode. I think it's a better idea than just shoot wider and crop or fix it in post. So or not correcting the lines at all, because sometimes I see real estate photographers that don't correct the lines, which it's fine for what it is, but I think this opens up many possibilities. I also see it for real estate filmmaking, again for the same reasons, speed, and I like that the zoom mechanism doesn't protrude out of the lens, so it makes it so easy to balance on a gimbal. Also the filter thread makes it ideal for filmmaking. You can put it directly on a Red Komodo camera. You can put it directly to a Canon C70 and other cinema cameras. Super 35mm sensor cameras have been the standard for filmmaking for more than 100 years. Cameras like the Leica and other previous film cameras. So filmmakers are very used to smaller sensors than full frame or VistaVision. And I think this lens can really fulfill a need on the market, because they're not, as far as I know, there are not any other super 35mm shift lenses on the market, let alone zoom lens. So of course you can always adapt lenses with shift adapters, but I think this is a great option. I think another demographic that can greatly benefit from this lens is people like us, Lauren and I, or other photographers that travel, not only for fun, but also for works. I wouldn't mind shooting with this lens for a job. Also bring another longer lens like a 24 to 70, but I think this is a good lens because sometimes you don't want to be bringing all the tilt shift prime lenses because of the bulk, because of you don't want to raise any alarm, or you don't want to drive much attention on security in the airport. And I think this is a perfect lens. There are different countries in the world that are very picky when it comes to what you bring in your camera back, of course for drones, but also for if you see that your equipment is so professional, you're bringing 10 lenses, 5 lenses, 2-3 bodies. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky. Places like Dubai, for example, if you want to travel to Dubai and you want to take a few photos, or you want to do a personal project, why not? I think something like this is super ideal for that. And I can see it more as a travel lens, or a lens that can sit in your B cam for photography, rather than being a main lens for the architecture and interior photography world. Because let's be honest, if you're an architect, a photographer, or filmmaker, I'm sure you're gonna be shooting on full frame or medium format, but this is great for that. And of course, it can also be used as a regular 12 to 24mm lens. And it's cool because sometimes, of course, tilt shift lenses, wide angle tilt shift lenses can be stitched and can create wider images. For example, the Canon 17 tilt shift, the Laowa 15, the Nikon 19, you can create wider than that by stitching different frames. But having ultra wide lenses that like a 12 or an 11 or a 10mm lens is also beneficial, and it sometimes is better and easier and more convenient than stitching lenses, because sometimes you're gonna be popping different flashes, different brackets, there are things they're moving, and just for a matter of speed and convenience, sometimes for those situations that is necessary to shoot wider than 17 or 15, having a 12mm lens on a full frame camera can be very useful. So this lens can also be a great full frame 12mm, 14mm lens. And what I like is that it's not so big, so it doesn't require much space in your backpack. And I know that the situations where you're gonna require to shoot wider than 17 or 15 are rare, but it's good to have. I can also see this lens very useful for landscape photographers. They're gonna appreciate the inclusion of a filter thread. I think this lens is also gonna be very relevant for photographers that are starting in the architecture and interior photography industry. When you're starting out, you don't want to break the bank, you don't have the funds to buy super expensive lenses or 3 or 4 prime lenses, and I think this lens fills that gap very well. But I can tell right away, based on my first impressions of the lens are the following. I like that it's so compact. I like the build quality. It feels so good. The build quality is better than any other Canon, Nikon lens. Is much better. I like that it's metal, but it's not so heavy. So that's a very good point. Again, it's so small. I like the filter thread, but I also like that it doesn't distort much. Even at 12, the geometric distortion is very well controlled. Sharpness is good. It's never gonna be as good as a full frame prime lens on a full frame camera, but I think for the targeted use, is more than enough. I've used it on a Canon R5 Mark II, and the crop of that camera is around 17 or 18 megapixels. So potentially it can even be better than that. For example, the Fuji X-H2 has 40 megapixels. It would probably render better on that camera, but I haven't tested. So I like the distortion, again, low distortion, ease of use, compact size, and the image quality is good. Pros and cons of this lens. As I said before, I like the build quality. It feels so good, it feels so well built, but it doesn't feel heavy, so that's a plus. What I also like is the image quality, super sharp. It's not as sharp as, of course, as a prime lens on a full frame camera, but I think for what it is very good. It's comparable to any other APS-C zoom lenses, and that's a good thing. Another thing that I like is that the geometric distortion is very well controlled, and the chromatic aberration is also in normal levels. You're not going to be surprised to see so much purple fringing or anything. But by the way, I'm going to link all the raw files on the description, because everyone has a different taste, everyone has a different tolerance for image quality, and it's a very subjective thing. So for me, this lens is fine, and I think it's a good lens, but maybe you don't like it, and that's okay. So I'm going to leave the files down below. By the way, the shift mechanism on a Laowa lens, this is the same thing for the 15 and also for the 20. It's super easy to use. It's easier than any other Canon or Nikon or Fuji tilt shift lenses, and I like it. The inclusion of a filter thread is awesome for filmmakers, photographers. Things that I would like them to improve or to change. I think it would be very useful to have a tripod collar integrated on the lens. And I'm aware that these days there are many third-party rotatable devices where you can switch the camera from landscape to horizontal on a pinch, like Small Rig, Atoll, and some other brands. But those devices are usually a bit cumbersome, and I would prefer to have it in the lens. Not only for easier panorama stitching where you move the back of the camera instead of the lens, but also for switching from horizontal to vertical. But I guess integrating a tripod collar would make this lens more expensive. Another thing that I would like to see an improvement is, by the way, this lens, it doesn't flare so much. It flares like any other super wide angle lens. Sometimes you see a bit of flaring, but that's what I would like to see, a proper lens hood. It has this small lens hood built in here in the lens, and it also this filter adapter. It kinda acts as a lens hood, but I think it's not enough. I would like to see a bigger one. I know that it can get on the way, especially when shifting to different directions, but I think maybe they could make it like more open or something. But I would like to see a hood that it can block some lights from unwanted angles. Another thing that I would like to see, not only in this Laowa shift lens, but also in all shift lenses in the market, is that when you have the lens mounted on the camera and you rotate the base of the lens in order to shift to different directions, sometimes it's so hard to see the numbers here. And I think especially in this lens where you have different rings, I would like to have the same numbers duplicated in the back of the lens, because sometimes it's so hard to reach. Sometimes it's so hard to see the zoom value that we are at, or the aperture. And that would be, or even the focus position. That would be a great inclusion, and I think they could just print the numbers here on the back, and it would make it easier. So all in all, I'm so happy with this lens. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I didn't shoot with this lens more than 2 or 3 times. I would like to have shot more, but I had a trip to Europe. I didn't visit my family for a few years, so I didn't have much time to test it in proper environments, and I didn't have the chance to test it multiple times as it should. but I'm also working on a architect to filmmaking course that I'm gonna release in the coming weeks. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm gonna link the raw files here where you can download and zoom in and check them by yourself. And thank you again for being a part of the Shift community, and let us know if you have any suggestions for things that you want us to do in the future. I would like to have more time for this type of reviews and things like that, but in reality, I'm so busy as you guys, shooting for clients and everything that a videography business requires. So I will try to make more time for these type of things. Let me know if you like this format. I know that I told so much.